Good morning, everybody. Nice to be here. Came by public transport, came to the railway station, Antwerp Central, walked here. You have to. This is called the Lange Winkelstraat, and to get to it, you have to come through the Korte Winkelstraat, and hardly any of them have any shops at all, which is what I think it means, doesn't it? Long shopping street. So they must have disappeared over time, like, you know, some forms of transport. But imagine if this long shopping street lived up to its name and it was full of different shops. If you had one of Crystal's bank cards with a Mastercard on it, or any of our international schemes on it, you could walk down that long shopping street, and it doesn't matter whether you go into a bookshop or a clothes shop or a restaurant or a coffee shop, you could buy anything you like with her card, because our industry has been built on interoperability, meaning you can buy lots of different products in lots of different shops with the same card, and then you could think about expanding that globally around the world. And that's what our industry has been extremely good at, standardizing payments so that you could go to Japan for business or go to America on your holiday. You don't need to get an American bank card or a Japanese bank card. You can keep the KBC card that Crystal gave you. It will work. Now, apply that vision, if you like, that practicality to some of the challenges that you're facing today. I mean, I've been listening this morning and agree with all of the speakers that complexity and proliferation of different systems is going to be potentially a problem for your average man and woman in the street. I was reading the paper on the train. There's two more, what would you call them, mass services opened in Brussels just this week. A car share firm, and today electronic scooters. And they all got slightly different forms of paying for them through their applications. My contention is that people like their one bank account. You don't see too many people who've got 2, 3, 4 multiple bank accounts. They don't like it. People like to be able to see all of their spending in one place so that they can keep an eye on their budget. And without emphasising the seriousness of the problem, people are on a tighter and tighter budget at the moment. And especially in this industry where people are using urban transport, we're not talking about millionaires. We're talking about people who are on a budget, who need to keep control of that budget. And so, what they want is one simple, relatively simple way to pay. And we think that we, by luck, and also a little bit of judgment, have a solution. And we have a role to play in making this easy for the man and woman in the street to use. So, globally, all the terminals accept all the cards. That's already a good start. But our solution traditionally was not fantastic for transit. Why? Because it took too long for our transactions to get what we call permission or authorization. You normally would rely on an online message that would sometimes take 5, 10, 15 seconds before the bank that gave you your card said, yes, I recognise that, that's Mr. Smith's, he's good for the $67. If you're in a restaurant, no problem. But if you're trying to get through a gateway or onto a bus, it's not optimal. The other thing, traditionally there was a cost per transaction to using our products. And because of the way that communications worked and what have you, it became less attractive the lower the price of whatever it was you were trying to buy. So if it was a $100 leather jacket, no problem. But if it's a €1.40 tram ticket, then it could take a chunk out of it. So luckily, and this is why I say some luck came into it, over the last few years, everything's come together in a perfect storm to make bank cards, as Crystal said, because they're going to be around, but then telephones with bank card numbers in them, I would say, almost the perfect solution for all of the things that we've been talking about and going to talk about when it comes to paying. Because don't forget, we need people to pay for all of these services. If you pick up that electric scooter, it's only €2.50 for the first 15 minutes, but still, you've got to pay it. And you can't be paying cash. You've got to find some smarter way to do it. So what we did, which I think was unique for transit, is we bent the rules of maybe 40 or 50 years of card payments. When you buy a meal in a restaurant, they don't let you eat the meal. Actually, they do. That's a really bad example. Let me give you a better example. When you go and buy some clothes in a restaurant, they don't hand you over the bag and say, "Oh, you can wear those before." No, first of all, they make sure that you can pay for it by swiping your card, or in these days of chip, putting it through the terminal. Here now, because it's so fast, your environment, we're going to let people onto the bus or onto the tram before we know whether they've got the money. That's a major change. You'll have to think about the restaurant. I suppose the restaurant, you're there, aren't you? They've got you captive. You could run out, but
they could make you wash the dishes.
They could make you wash the dishes. Yeah. I have to rethink my example of the The other thing we did was, for these small transactions, we allow transit operators to aggregate them. So instead of ping, 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 €1, €1, €1, we allow them to do one check in the morning. Is this a good account? Are these good? This person has got funds in their account. Are they likely to be a good payer? Yes or no? So the issuing bank can say, "Yep, this is going to be okay at the end of the day." And then at the end of the day, they only send in one transaction for the full aggregated amount of travel all over the day. And this is also pretty unique to transit transactions. So we really twisted our rules so that we could set up a framework for bank cards all around the world to be used on these systems. So when you're hearing about people jumping off a train into a city and using the bicycle system, and then using the Podcar, or then using, I don't know, the electronic scooter, just think, one part of this puzzle, the piece is already in place. You can use the bank card system. Everybody's got one. And so we're really quite pleased with the way that we've been able to twist the system, and then the fact that every card now has a chip on it, and the contactless chip that Krista was talking about means it's super fast to get through your gateways and get through your buses and get through your trams. So you just stand on, tap, and it goes green, hopefully within less than half a second. 500 milliseconds is the industry standard. Once you apply the system, it works fantastically. We have not enough examples around the world, but we have some very good examples from around the world where the system was put in place and people adapt to it like a duck to water. It's incredible, the uptake, and we like transit because it seems to be a good environment for encouraging the kind of card behaviour or spending behaviour that we're all trying to get to. Crystal mentioned that cash is still quite prominent in Belgium. We hate cash, and we think that you guys hate cash as well. I mean, we don't want bus drivers collecting cash. We don't want people having to stuff coins into these electric scooters. No, we want to drive it out, and we think that transit is a catalyst for driving good behaviour. And governments love it when we drive cash out as well, because they like electronic payments. They like to be able to record, clean financial transactions. So we feel like we're, helping some powerful people as well in the payments environment and stakeholders. So that's really good. We have this example in London where we solved a critical issue of overcrowding by making it very, very simple. Just to walk in, tap your bank card, walk out. Okay, you have to tap your bank card again. But the system behind that Transport for London built makes life very simple for Londoners. It calculates what you've done and then gives you the best fare, and at the end of the day sends a request to your bank for the money, and you see it. On Wednesday I spent £6. Absolutely brilliant for mass transit. People love it as well. I mean, I'm not young enough to really appreciate social media, but apparently it's full of praise for how simple it's making people's lives. You don't have to miss your train anymore, and this is kind of a key part of the vision. Once you get people to trust the money, but also the fact that they can just run and jump on any form of transport without fear of an inspector saying you haven't paid. As long as you've got a bank card, you've paid. That's our vision. And look at the results from London. Nearly 1.3 million contactless bank card journeys a day, which after just 1 year and 6 months is approaching 35% of everybody that goes round. So it's not just for tourists like we thought it is. It's also going to be for Londoners. There's 50 implementations going on in other cities. You may have heard of New York and Boston and all these places. So it's all around the world. It's everywhere. So we are confident that not only people will use it, but that cities will start to adopt it, and hopefully it will catch on very quickly. This gives us great hope. In London, we've already seen 70 different nationalities of bank card, and there's only about 90 countries in the world that issue these contactless high-speed cards so far, and so almost every country that you can get the card and that goes to London, they seem happy to use it without any advertising, without any publicity. Is it intuitive? We hope so. We don't know why it's so popular, but it gives us great hope. And not only is it about cards, but we're also seeing a lot of people willing to use other devices in London. So I would have thought people would be reticent to bang their telephone, their smartphone against a terminal. No, people seem very happy to do that as well. And it's driving contactless payments for our industry. We see that once the transit agency accepts them, because of the numbers of people that are using it, then they branch out into other low value areas and we drive out even more cash. So we're super happy to be working hand in hand with the transit industry. Why? And this is the final slide. It supports our what we're betting all our money on, and this is how we're going to survive, hopefully, against a proliferation of different payment methods, is we think that as people just prefer to have one account, they will digitize that account into any number of devices. It could be their tablet, their telephone, their watch, all that kind of thing. Let them choose, but at the back of it will always be their bank account linked to a number, which is, essentially what the card business was built on, and you'll be able to use any device, anywhere, any time, to pay for any of your transport options, and get a simple one-page statement at the end of the day saying this is how much you spent today in Tokyo, or in Brussels, or what have you. We think that's what people want, so that's where we're putting all our efforts, digitising card payments so that they'll be very easy to use on yours. And we're now going to move over to the lane to show you how we're moving down that road here in Belgium.
Okay, thanks.